Let's head to Kano State, where 9 people have been feared killed after an improvised explosive device planted at a local bus stop detonated in Injeri village, Guazamala local government area. The explosion, which occurred around 11 a.m. on Saturday, has also left several others injured. Victims were reportedly passengers waiting to board commercial vehicles. Speaker of the Kano State House of Assembly, Abdulkarim Lawang, confirmed the incident and extended condolences to the victims' families while calling for increased security presence in the region. He stated that Injeri village, previously resettled despite repeated Boko Haram and ISWAP attacks, is now deserted again. Lawang urged the military to restore civil authority in Guazamala, where terrorists remained active and residents live under constant threat. And let's head to Enugu State, where Levi Obieze, a native of Ndiagu Umumba in the Iziagu community, was until last Thursday known simply as a traditional healer. That changed dramatically when authorities discovered several corpses buried in a pit at his country home. The gruesome find sent shockwaves across the nation, triggering an immediate manhunt. Obieze was apprehended by immigration officials at the Seme border while attempting to flee the country. In response, the Enugu State Government has demolished Obieze's residence as part of a broader crackdown on suspected ritual killings and illegal activities linked to traditional practices. News Central's correspondent Chinu Gill joins us to speak more on this. Thank you so much for joining us, Chinu.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Chinu, can you please tell us what specific evidence led to the arrest of Levi Obieze?
Okay, was able to intercept some persons that these carried out activities.
All right, well, we cannot make out what you're saying, Chinu, but then we'll try to reconnect. Away from that, barely 5 days after the gruesome killing of the Divisional Police Officer of Rano local government area of Kano State, residents of the community have expressed their displeasure over what they described as the arbitrary and continuous arrests of suspects within the community. While about 41 suspects allegedly involved in the violence that led to the killing of the DPO, Baba Ali, have been arrested by the police, youths within the community say the DPO was responsible for the arrest and killing of a resident by the name Abdullahi, who lost his life in detention under controversial circumstances. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu was in the community and filed in this report.
The gruesome killing of the DPO in Rano, Kano State, has continued to generate reactions across the country. The police in the state has vowed to bring perpetrators to book and has begun to clamp down on suspects. Community members expressed their displeasure over the actions of the police, justifying the acts of accusing officers of the Nigerian police force of intimidating residents through its siege on the community.
So it is both in both ways. Wherever you look, whichever way you look at it. If you look at it from the side of the youth, okay, this is what they have displayed. And if you have listened to what people have been speaking up, all people are condemning it, whatever may be the case. It's highly condemnable. People, we don't like it.
They also allege that the slain police officer displayed acts of unprofessionalism and gross misconduct while alive, and maintains he was responsible for gross human rights violations of suspected detainees.
Yaro an ce an same shi yana guje-guje da mashin, and sai mutanen unguwa suka sauke shi suka je suka kai kara wajen shi DPO. Shi DPO shi kuma ya tura yaran shi suka je suka kamo yaro. Shi kuma DPO da aka kai shi police station, yaron a wata majiya an ce dukan shi har mai faruwa dai ta zo ta faru, ko ba haka bane ba. And da safe sai ya ɗauki yaro aka je aka kai yaro gidansu da aka kai shi gidansu su kuma don a wata majiyar ma an ce yana zuwa kawai ajiye shi yayi sai 'yan unguwa suka biyo shi sakamakon mai an ji first kafin wannan lokacin an san ga abin da ya faru sai aka biyo shi.
While the police has maintained a presence in the community since the incident, residents of Rono say the arrest of 41 persons within the community is a flagrant abuse of power. In Reno, Kano State, for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
Still in Kano State, members of Team Kano have been involved in a fatal road accident just days after competing at the 22nd National Sports Festival. At least 21 athletes from Team Kano have lost their lives in a devastating bus crash. The fatal accident occurred Saturday on the Dakats-Ale Bridge, located in Kura local government area of Kano State. The team was returning home from Abeokuta, Ogun State, where they had proudly represented Kano at the recently concluded National Sports Festival. According to the chairman of the Kano State Sports Commission, Umar Fage, the bus was carrying 30 passengers when it veered off the bridge. 19 athletes died at the scene. 2 others later died from injuries sustained in the crash, while several more remain hospitalized. Eyewitness Jafaru Audu, speaking to News Central, said one of the survivors alleged that the driver may have fallen asleep at the wheel, leading to the tragic loss of life.
Ta hau ta kan gadan nan shikenan sai ta fado yawwa ni lokacin nan ina can tsallake kurin na ga faduwar ta nan kowa ya daidai wallahi da muka zo gurin muka ɗibi mutane muka tattara su guri ɗaya kuma gaskiya ba mu yau mun ciro mutum 15 yawwa masu wanda suka mutu an tafi hanya mutum 3 sun sake mutuwa yawwa to yanzu kuma bayan an tafi asibitin sun sake gaya mana mutum 3 sun sake mutuwa.
Mu dai muna cikin tafiya a mota, to bayan mun to haka kawai Allah ya afko wannan mota kawai ke cefe ta zo ta hau kan wannan gada ta hado haka. To daga haka bayan da haka muna gurin mu muka fara fito da wannan mutane, to daga ciki wani ina da rai har ya gaya mana bacci ne ya ɗebi wannan bawan Allah. Bayan bacci ya ɗebe shi ina cikin tafiya magagi kawai zo ya afko. To a haka mun fito da mutane matattu ma mun fito da kaman guda 20 da kusan ɗaya ma wanda suka rasu. Kuma bayan da haka an sake gaya mana cewa mutum 3 sun rasu a asibiti tukuna, banda marasa lafiyar da muka dingi zubawa a mota muna kaiwa.
Wani asibiti aka yi?
Da farko mun kai wasu asibitin Kura, to daga nan kuma an sake yi musu abin rata an huce da su Kano asibitin Murtala.
In the meantime, the Kano State Government has declared Monday, June 2nd, 2025, a public holiday to honor and mourn the 22 young athletes, coaches, and also officials who lost their lives in the tragic auto accident. Governor Abba Yusuf, currently on pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia for the 2025 Hajj, described the incident as a dark moment for Kano. In a statement signed by his spokesperson, Sanusi Tofa, the governor expressed his deep sorrow and extended heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families and the entire sports community. Governor Yusuf urged residents to remain calm and united during this time of grief, assuring that the state government will provide full support to the families of the deceased and to survivors still receiving treatment. And let's turn our attention to another developing tragedy in Niger State, where the death toll from the catastrophic flood continues to climb. Authorities now confirm that over 150 lives was lost and thousands displaced in Mokwa local government area of the state. According to state authorities, the disaster struck late Wednesday night, submerging homes and forcing over 3,000 residents to flee. Deputy Governor Yakubu Garba confirmed the scale of the devastation, describing the event as one of the deadliest in the state's recent history. So far, at least 44 victims were laid to rest on Friday, following the burial of 31 others recovered earlier. In a statement released Saturday, the Niger State Emergency Management Agency confirmed the rise in casualty figure and added that 3 communities were affected. To politics now, former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi, says opposition parties can remove President Bola Tinubu from power in 2027. Speaking during an event organized to mark his 60th birthday anniversary, Amechi said he met Tinubu before the 2023 presidential election and told him that he will not work or vote for him. Amechi said his decision not to back Tinubu's presidential bid was based on capacity issue. The former Minister of Transportation further said he would have pursued some of the policies of the present administration if he were president. Amechi said he does not mind submitting to the opposition to oust Tinubu as long as the interest of the nation is placed above individual interests. To discuss this, we're joined by political analyst Henry Olonimoyo. Thank you so much for joining us, Henry, on the news.
Good afternoon, Nigerians.
Good afternoon. Henry, would love to hear from you. What is the current strength of opposition parties like the PDP, Labour Party and NNPP compared to the ruling APC? And how does the strength impact their chances in 2027?
Yes, if you consider the stage that we're at just after the 2023 elections, you would like to say that there was significant strength in the opposition, considering the outcome of the election, with 3 of the close runner-ups having about 13 million votes compared to the 8 million votes that 8 million plus votes that the president got. You would think that yes, the opposition was strong enough, but of course, in the recent months, you have seen that there has been a collapse of what appears to be the opposition now. We are hearing defections from one side to the other. It's beginning to look like even these parties are not even in the right state to contest elections, to present candidates for elections. And so clearly, as it stands now, the opposition is really not something strong enough to face the ruling party. And that's why the talk of a coalition becomes much more imperative than ever.
Okay. Now, Henry, is a viable coalition among Nigeria's fragmented opposition realistic at all? Because there's so many crises, emanating from some of these opposition parties themselves, the latest being that from the SDP, also looking at the ideological and regional differences.
Yeah, it's still very possible, as we also know that even the APC itself was based on an alliance that was born out of a shake across the Niger. You had political elements from the north coming to form coalition with people from the south, and it happened. And today they're in office, and I do not see why that cannot happen if the talks to coalition that is ongoing now, if it gets the necessary cooperation it needs, it demands amongst the people who are coming in. There can be, it's very clear, because if you have a government that is empowered that won't just over 8 million votes, any strong coalition can outwit them. Also considering the fact that now in the bit of the next election, more people will have to vote who are probably just clocked 18 after the last election. That means that there's a younger voting tribe also that will be voting in the next election. That means that this is a voting tribe that needs to be canvassed after. And so this could tip the scale in favor of either the government in power or a coalition that is serious.
All right. Now, how critical are swing states such as Rivers, Lagos, Kano, and Kaduna, especially in determining the 2027 presidential outcome?
Yes. So those swing states, again, that's also a much more serious reason for the government in power to be worried, because if you discover these swing states, if you pick Lagos, for instance, was lost by the government in power. If you pick Kano, was lost by the government in power. Katsina was lost by the government in power. look at the Abuja also, FCT was lost by the government in power. That tells you something, that if there is a reasonable coalition, then they can outwit the government in power. Whether the government in power has been able to close their ranks and get it right, it remains to be seen. But if you look at these states also, Lagos is still neither here nor there, because in the last few months they had this tussle with the speakership. There's also rumors of disgruntlement among as a fall off from the local government elections that was held in Lagos State. There are issues also in these places also. And if you look at Kano also, there's still some kind of unrest undertones in Kano State. And so these are swing states, as it were. If politically there's dissatisfactions among people, there's still a very strong possibility that if the coalition gets its act right, these states can swing in their favor. And if they swing in their favor, then there'll be a change of government on 2027.
All right, now just before we let you go, Henry, how has President Tinubu's, in your view, how has his performance in his first 2 years influenced public opinion ahead of 2027?
Yes, when you're on government, there are indices that appear much more conspicuously to the Nigerian people, to the people. And if you're not careful, if you don't manage those optics right, it will kick you out of office. Things as simple as the cost of goods and services. If those things, if you allow it to skyrocket, it's enough to bring down any government. And that has happened in this government without a very clear plan to whether these things will come back. The price of things have tripled, even quadrupled in some cases. I want to wonder if these prices will ever come down, largely because of the policy decisions taken by this government. And of course, that is probably why the people are not happy with with the administration so far. But again, you look at issues, policies like the tax reforms that this government is trying to bring in. It's a very good one. The autonomy for local government is a good one. But largely, what will determine how people view this government is how it has translated, its policies has translated into the cost of goods and services for the Nigerian people, and which is not a very good tale to tell.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Henry, for your time and speaking on this.
Thank you for inviting me.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll tell you that Northern Christian Association of Nigeria criticizes federal government's re-radicalization and reintegration initiative for former insurgents. We'll bring you details of this and more shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying with us. As terror attacks continue to claim lives and destabilize communities in northern Nigeria, the Northern Christian Association of Nigeria has criticized the federal government's de-radicalization and reintegration initiative for former insurgents. Now, the program, known as Operation Safe Corridor, was launched in 2015 with the goal of rehabilitating and reintegrating repentant terrorists through psychological support, vocational training, and religious reorientation. And despite over 1,500 individuals reportedly passing through the program as of 2023 and more than 600 set for reintegration, the initiative remains highly controversial, especially in the wake of recent mass killings. Northern CAN chairman Reverend Joseph Hayab says the program has failed to deliver meaningful results. Away from that, President Bola Tinubu is urging Nigerians to remain patient as his administration pushes forward with key infrastructure projects and economic reforms. The president made the appeal during the commissioning of the major section of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Speaking at the inauguration of Phase 1, Section 1 of the 750-kilometer Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, President Bola Tinubu acknowledged the ongoing economic hardships facing many Nigerians, but assured the public that better days lie ahead.
I know at this stage the expectation is still very high. and our Nigerian people are still going through difficult times. I take this opportunity to appeal to all Nigerians, that the hope is here and is realizable. That the benefit will be you'll be part of the benefit. The economy is recovering. There is light at the end of the tunnel now. Inflation is stepping down. The exchange rate is stabilized. The corruption in the exchange rate is eliminated. The corruption in fuel subsidy is limited to BRS minimum. It is your money. It is your opportunity. It is your children that must go to school, must go through the higher education. We are paying for all of that. Look at the infrastructure going on in various teaching hospitals and several thousands of health centers. It's all about you. It's all for you, the people. We are reducing the cost of manufactured drugs. We are encouraging manufacturing locally. We give all incentives for everyone to abide by the principle of Nigeria first.
Let's also tell you that the former governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, has commended President Bola Tinubu for a strategic partnership with some members of Nigeria's opposition parties in his bid to deliver the dividends of democracy to citizens. Ortom, while in company of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, made this known during the inspection of the Kubo and Mabushi bus and taxi terminals, calling on residents of the capital to support the president. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, reports.
It was an inspection of ongoing construction works at the bus terminus in Kugbo and Mabushi areas of Abuja. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory was accompanied by the former governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom. Ortom commended the president for the partnership with several opposition party members, including the Minister of the FCT, saying he needs all hands on board to succeed in his endeavor.
Mr. President is looking beyond party affiliation. That is why he brought my friend and leader, Minister Nyesom Wike, to be Minister of Federal Capital Territory, despite the fact that he won the election on the platform of APC. This is strategic partnership, and all of us, because if we don't have a country, we cannot in any way have a nation to have position.
He expressed delight at the standard of work seen on ground, commending the Minister of the FCT for a job well done. Also, the minister expressed concern at the state of infrastructure before the current administration, commending the contractors for the work done and emphasizing that Nigerians deserve better.
I've gone round. I've seen Kubo, I've seen Mabushi bus terminal. This is what we see abroad for decades. We have not seen this in Nigeria. We are seeing this today in Abuja, our own country, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
It's unfortunate for a country like this, a Federal Capital Territory, like what my friend said, the former governor of Enugu State, that we cannot have such a thing. But it's what we find all over the world. And you ask yourself every time we travel out, and it's another look. We should be able to have. So some people, critics, will say what is wrong with that they want to build a motor park. you see how we degenerate.
He says that the FCT is coming up with an effective transport policy to initiate reforms in the transportation sector so as to improve security within the capital.
Before we get to even commissioning, we'll come up with our transport sector reforms because we have said as part of security measures, we must know who are those who are involved in doing their taxi business and what color, so that if anything happens, we'll be able to identify. So just be assured that we are doing everything possible. We will do it, and this time around we are working on to see that we don't have a lot of parks on the road.
The terminals are expected to be commissioned in June as part of President Bola Tinubu's second year anniversary. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
It is essential to emphasize the importance of promoting and protecting the rights of all children, including those living with disabilities. Now, for these children, this act will serve as a vital reminder of their rights and needs, which are often neglected or overlooked. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more in this report.
Children's Day is a day the world celebrates the pure joy that children bring into the lives of parents, guardians, teachers, and the entire society, while highlighting the importance of protecting their rights, including those living with disabilities. Despite their physical challenges, these children have talents and dreams that transcend their disabilities.
I want to be a musician because I like singing.
I want to become a specialist.
It is on this premise that the Raising Star Africa Foundation, at its annual Children's Day event, celebrates children with special needs while focusing on their strengths and potentials, while promoting a culture of inclusion and acceptance for children living with disabilities.
We decided to celebrate children living with disabilities to showcase their abilities. So that's why the event name is called Disability. That means we are focusing on their abilities, on their strengths, on their potentials, on what they do differently, not what the society expects them to do, irrespective of the disability.
There's ability and disability, and more often than not, people with disability are left behind. So as a government, we're doing a lot of advocacy, a lot of empowerment, a lot of, creativity. We're trying to be creative around what we do.
What if the next big idea is trapped behind a voice that has not been given the opportunity to speak and be heard, right? We're very, very passionate about not just celebrating Children's Day with people living with disabilities, but also celebrating potentials.
For parents and teachers responsible for nurturing these special kids, they have learned to look beyond the challenges and focus on their strengths.
There's the medical challenge, there's the financial challenge, there's the educational challenge, there's the stigmatization, there's the social acceptance. There's so much, the emotional, psychological challenges. But each one has its own, strengths and what have you.
As a special teacher, we were able to handle them, to bring out the talent in them. You can see the theme of this year children's celebration is disability. The ability in them is what we are bringing out.
While this day celebrates the potentials of children, it also serves as a reminder for the importance of protecting the rights of children, including those living with disabilities, and creating a more inclusive and accessible world for everyone. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
In today's fast-changing workplace, one question is quietly dividing break rooms and boardrooms. Are Gen Z workers truly less resilient, or are they simply working smarter? In this special report, News Central's Oluwakemi Alimi takes a critical look at the demographic generation, especially the individuals who grew up with the internet, smartphones, and social media, and their work ethics.
They are digital natives, bold and outspoken, but they are also quitting faster, ghosting jobs more often, and demanding a different kind of work-life balance. Some say Gen Zs lack staying power, but others argue They are just rewriting the rules.
I would refer to them as people who are able to put to words, things that most are not able to. They are people who prioritize their mental health, they prioritize work-life balance, they prioritize finding purpose, fulfillment in the work that they do. And for millennials are people who I have seen that they just want stability, they want that consistency, just so that they're able to meet up with expectations maybe at home, and they're just able to pay their bills.
According to a 2023 survey by Indeed, 93% of Gen Z respondents admitted to skipping interviews and nearly 90% accepted offers but never showed up. Still, this doesn't necessarily mean they are irresponsible. It may signal a deeper cultural shift.
I think environment is a key part of how much you can be productive and produce. So the more conducive your environment is, the more you have to give. And so I think a very welcoming environment would be the best to say as to workplace. And as a Gen Z, I would like to say that, a happy place, people full of life, to be honest.
As a Gen Z, I don't like stress, seriously. When I'm stressed, I tend not to concentrate at work. My coping mechanisms are, first off, I engage in conversations with my close pals at my workplace.
Generally, I prefer working remotely than going to the office. And I mean, there are a lot of reasons. So one of them is time spent in traffic. Working from home, there's just that freedom. So yeah, for me, I just generally prefer working from home, just to avoid things like office politics too. Like when you're at home, it's not as much as office politics in the office. Nobody's looking at, oh, what did this person get to work today? For me personally, because I work in tech, it means that a lot of the things I would have to do can be done online.
Where millennials saw work as a ladder to climb, Gen Zs view it as a lifestyle to design. Millennials adapted with the system, but Gen Zs are building new systems altogether, driven by purpose, mental wellness, and autonomy.
Organizations that would say Gen Zs are not relevant would basically be saying that in the probably next 10 years, they probably will be shut in office. The assessments, we say to companies, how do you define your strategy? Some companies say to us, strategy is defined top down, but Gen Zs are saying, and what we see as best practice is supposed to be bottom up, so that everyone feels part of the organization and can contribute to achieve those objectives.
So, is Gen Z less elastic, or are they simply stretching the idea of resilience in a new direction? The answer may lie in how well workplaces are willing to evolve. In Lagos, for News Central, Oluwakemi Alimi.
Coming up, Kenyan tech activist arrested over anti-finance bill website. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. Away from Nigeria, thousands of opposition supporters gathered at the Yupogon district in Abidjan on Saturday for the first rally organized by a newly formed 24-party opposition coalition. Now, the demonstrators called for political dialogue and sweeping electoral reforms as the country prepares for its presidential election on October 25th. The protesters are demanding revisions to the electoral register and reforms to the Electoral Commission, particularly after authorities barred 4 prominent opposition candidates from running in the upcoming vote.
Inviter le gouvernement à convoquer incessamment le dialogue politique tant souhaité par les partis politiques.
Pieds ivoiriens, le pays nous appelle. Le pays nous appelle. Et nous qui sommes ici, vos regards nous ont parlé. Vous nous avez demandé de nous rassembler. Vous nous avez demandé de nous rassembler. Partout où nous sommes passés, votre seul regard a suffi pour nous interpeller. Vos larmes nous ont interpellés. Vos tristesses nous ont réunis. Et nous nous sommes regroupés au-delà de notre ego, au-delà de nos ambitions personnelles. Nous voici regroupés au nom de Cap Côte d'Ivoire.
Nous exigeons la dissolution de la commission électorale actuelle parce que Alassane Ouattara a pris cette commission électorale en otage. Alassane Ouattara, c'est un spécialiste du verrouillage. Il verrouille tout. Il verrouille tout. Il a verrouillé l'armée. Il a verrouillé l'administration. Il a verrouillé la justice. Il a même verrouillé les chefs coutumiers. Il a verrouillé les organisations de la société civile. Même les religieux, il veut les verrouiller. Là, nous n'accepterons pas le verrouillage. Nous allons déverrouiller. Et c'est pourquoi nous sommes là.
Je suis là par l'appel de la CAP Côte d'Ivoire qui a demandé à ce qu'on se mobilise ici pour demander un dialogue politique afin que les Ivoiriens partent aux élections en toute tranquillité.
Rights organizations in Kenya are condemning the arrest of Rose Injeri, a software developer who created a digital platform to oppose a controversial new finance bill. Injeri was taken into custody on Friday, just days after she shared a link to her website on social media, warning that the proposed legislation would increase the cost of living and violate citizens' privacy rights. Now, as of Sunday, she remained in police custody in Nairobi with no formal charges announced. The arrest has ignited a wave of online backlash, with rights group Vocal Africa calling it a blatant attack on digital rights, freedom of expression, and civic engagement. Kenya has been under scrutiny for its treatment of critics, particularly since mass protests last year over tax hikes and corruption. Human rights groups say at least 60 people were killed during those demonstrations, with dozens more reportedly abducted in the aftermath. In business, the 5th annual MSME and Startup Summit, hosted as part of the Economic Forum series, brought together a vibrant mix of industry leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs to focus on the transformative theme, unlocking inclusive growth for informal MSMEs. Now, the summit underscored the urgent need to integrate informal, micro, small, and medium enterprises into Africa's formal economy. News Central's business correspondent Juliet Rowland was at the event and filed the report.
A central theme of the 5th annual MSME and Startup Summit was the urgent need to extend financial inclusion, expand market access, and accelerate the adoption of digital tools for underserved micro, small, and medium enterprises.
We've found out through studies to understand that cash flow is really the heart of an SME.
Digital transformation also took center stage as industry leaders stressed the need for agile tech-enabled solutions that meet the realities of today's markets.
For informal MSMEs to grow, they need accessible, reliable infrastructure.
Still, participants acknowledged that bridging the gap between bold policy proposals and tangible on-ground impact remain a major challenge, particularly in aligning government and private sector efforts.
What we need in this country is for policies that are in alignment with the needs of the people.
The conversation also turned to Nigeria's long-standing dependency on imports and the need to reindustrialize through homegrown productivity. The summit also featured a high-level panel session where experts and stakeholders discussed actionable strategies to overcome these barriers.
You know, with all these 50 billion naira, 75 billion naira interventions, but they need to do more in terms of providing seed capitals, in terms of providing more interventions, and then also to be part in terms of blended finance.
The summit also spotlighted the vital role of the media in sustaining the visibility and advocacy needed to champion MSMEs across the continent.
Let's shake this nation and make the people know that it is possible for you to have a voice and to have a platform that will make it impossible for the policymakers and those who make the decision that affects our lives but yet do not feel our pain, that they will get to hear our troubles and they will have no choice but to listen, hear us, and take action.
As the discussions wrapped up, attention turned to implementation and how to sustain momentum beyond the events.
For us, it's not just about, it's not just a talk shop. The idea for putting up events like this is that at the end of the day, the dialogues are very actionable. So in terms of the communique that we'll put together, so a post-summit report will be done and will be shared to, to all the relevant stakeholders, particularly, like I mentioned, the public, the government representatives, so that decisions that are taken at that level, will reflect, on the productivity and the performance of the MSMEs going forward.
As the summit concluded, one message stood out: unlocking the potential of informal and small businesses will ensure Africa's MSME sector truly moves from survival mode to becoming a true source of inclusive growth. In Lagos for News Central, I am Juliet Roland.
In the world of sports, Ella Onojuwewo clocked a season's best time of 50.99 seconds to win her 400-meter quarterfinal at the NCAA East Prelims, securing a place at the NCAA Championships in Oregon. Her dominant performance placed her among the top contenders heading into the national finals. Fellow Nigerian athlete Onya Favor also impressed, finishing her heat in 51.94 seconds to qualify for the championships as well. Both athletes will represent their schools and Nigeria in the highly competitive 400-meter event. Meanwhile, Esther Elo Joseph narrowly missed qualification after running a time of 52.01 seconds, falling just short of the cutoff. The upcoming NCAA championships promise intense competition, with Onojuwewo and Onya aiming to make a strong impact on the national stage. That's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. You heard that 9 people have been feared killed after a bomb exploded in Kano State. You also heard that death toll has risen to 151 after rainstorm wreaks havoc in Niger State. Finally, we also told you that opposition coalition in Côte d'Ivoire has held a mass rally for electoral justice. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.